Hello everyone, welcome to this presentation. Thank you to be there on this Friday afternoon. It's since 3 days that the Odoo experience starts, so I think we are all, I would say, happy to discover the 18th version. And I want to thank you everyone to be there, because we're going to talk about electronic invoicing in Switzerland, so quite a country-specific talk. My name is Le Goff Benoit. I work at the very wonderful company Camp to Camp. I'm a member of the Smart Camp team, so we are quite standard specific, fast implementation, and we love to use Studio and train our users. And my profile is, or my mantra is, I trying to be as technical, as functional every day for the clients and my teammates. So I'm very happy to talk with you today. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time on the booth, so feel free to connect with me, and if you have some question or you want to ping with me, send me a message. I'm going to be very glad to answer you. So, maybe there will be some question during the talk. Feel free to scan the small QR code, and we're going to check that together afterwards. So, what we are going to talk today is electronic invoicing. So let's talk a little. Let's start, a little bit with some summary. So a little bit of context, how it works. What is the architecture of the module that enables electronic invoicing for Switzerland in Odoo, some key features and live demonstration, and we're going to end with a conclusion. And I hope with this content, you're going to be a clear vision about how it works. So, context. What is electronic invoicing? You have in standard in Odoo some electronic invoicing features, for example, a PayPal network for European, or different provider that is in standard in Odoo. And in Switzerland, we have a big standard that is used by a lot of companies that we called eBill. And eBill is not provided in standard in Odoo. That's why we develop custom modules that I'm going to show you just after. But first, what is eBill and what is electronic invoicing in Switzerland? So eBill is a unified protocol for customer and B2B and B2C invoicing. So it's used by, I would say, a person and company. And it's also an online platform where you can connect, obviously, to manage your invoices, your settings, your IBAN account, all different stuff. So it's really a platform. And one key thing is that it's a mandatory standard for key business sectors. Let's talk, for example, about medical sector. If you want to work with some, I would say, insurances or medical company, you have to be compatible with eBilling, and it must be in your ERP. So, small numbers about eBill to understand if it's, I would say, important or not. We are talking about 3 million registered users or company, that can be company or can be person, that receive, check, approve eBilling directly on the online platform. We're talking also about 95% of Swiss financial institution. What is a Swiss financial institution? It's a bank, obviously, that is connected to the eBill infrastructure. That means I can pay, I can receive payments, obviously. And one key thing, because it's payment, 0 case of fraud, of problem in that standard. So very cool. Now, how does it work? If I would say put aside Odoo, let's say I use a classical ERP and I'm eBill compatible. How I work now? So first, I'm going to use my ERP to generate an invoice, because I'm going to have some quotation maybe, I can have some vendor bills or whatever. I have my ERP and I'm going to create it in my software. Then, if I want to, I will say, upload that in the eBill platform, I can have a connector or maybe not. In that case, I need to sign in on the eBill platform, upload my PDF or upload my XML, complete the information. And if my customer or if I pay some vendor, I need to follow up my payment and maybe some comments directly on the eBill platform. You don't have mandatorily some connection between the eBill platform and your ERP. So I think you understand that your invoices, that's the first problem you have, are managed at 2 different places. Payment on the right, so the eBill part, and generating on the left. And also you can have some problem if you have some reconciliation that you have to do to, I would say, register the payment. It will be on the ERP side, and that's a mess. So the main challenges that you need to solve is, okay, I need to generate an eBill invoice. What is an eBill invoice? It's an informatic file, a XML file actually, that is, I would say, linked to your PDF, to your invoice, and that's the, I will say, the informatic version of the content of your invoice, line by line, the customer, the price, obviously, the units, all necessary information. You need to upload that to the eBill platform, send it to your customer, and then follow up your payment. If you have some problem, like maybe a bad bank account or bad reference, you also need to manage some error. So that means that I need to generate my invoice on my ERP, go to the eBill platform, try to upload it and say, oh, I have a mistake, the bank account is not the correct one. I go back to my ERP, correct the things, upload it again. So it's not an efficient way to work, and we all know that with Odoo we want to be efficient and be, I would say, smart when we work. So one problem, like I said before, invoices are managed at 2 different places. Solution, let's use Odoo to manage eBill. Let's use our proprietary module. That's why at Camp to Camp we create additional eBill modules that is only provided by us to manage that. It's built, obviously, around standard EDI features that provide Odoo, because we want to have a smooth integration of our module. It's available at the moment for Odoo 15 and Odoo 16, and this week or last week we migrate the module in Odoo 17. So we're gonna have some customers in production, maybe in the next month, with this module in Odoo 17. Obviously not in Odoo 18 at the moment, but I'm sure it will be smooth to migrate that. And obviously we have some customer in production that use this eBill module. So it's quite cool. And what challenge did we solve? That means that we see in the past that we have some challenge problem because we have to the eBill platform and the ERP. Now, because of this module, we are integrated directly in Odoo. That means that at some point, my workflow, the way I work to manage my invoices, are directly, and I will say only in the ERP, in Odoo. I can generate my invoice based on a sale order, register some payment, send it to the customer, and reconcile that directly without quitting Odoo. And obviously for my customer, it's going to receive the invoices directly in his e-banking, paid it with the eBill protocol, and everything's going to be cool. Another problem we had that we talked before is about managing some problem like bad reference, bad price, bad customer information. In that case, to solve that, I need to generate again an invoice, send it back to the eBill platform. That was so. If everything is in Odoo, you just have to put in draft the invoices, correct the information, confirm it, and send it again. So it's very, very fast. And one key thing, you don't quit Odoo. And then payment. So you send it to your customer, you're going to receive the payment, and it's going to be directly on the reconcile standard flow without, I would say, learning some things. So it's cool. We had some problem because of the two platform. We see that with the module that we provided with Camp to Camp, we solved that. So how it works. Let's start a little bit with some architecture to understand how we built this module. So you're going to have Odoo at the left, your ERP. You're going to have, and it's possible with our module, some multi-company modes, so company A, B, C for let's say that. And our module is multi-company ready, obviously, because that's the case of a lot of customers. And you're going to create what we call the eBill service. I sign a contract with eBill that says I want to emit some eBill invoices and receive some payments. So they're going to provide me some credentials and a service number. So I'm going to create that in Odoo, and we're going to create together afterwards. And then based on that service, I'm going to register some contract. Because at some point, there will be a contract between myself, my company, and my customer that says, okay, I let you emit some invoices and send me some invoices because we have a contract. Contract can obviously have some start date, end date, a status. The goal is to manage that directly in Odoo, like we said before. So it's cool. I installed the module. What I have to do? So eBill sign up to have, like I said before, your services, your credentials. No accounting setup. It's really built with the standard features, so don't need to change this kind of things. It's okay. And then just create your contract. And let's go, we can emit some invoices. If I specify a little bit the workflow that we talked before, so we have the architecture, but what I have to do in Odoo. So eBill service creation. Well, like I said, we are multi-company mode, so once for each company, because I'm going to have one credentials for each company. Then I'm going to create my customer contract or register my customer contract. Like I said, like I write renewable on agreement if that's the case. Then I'm going to invoice and follow up my payment with no modification on my workflow, no modification in the accounting app, no modification in the sales app, and then I'm going to upload directly my eBill invoice. So, key objects that you see in the architecture slides just before: services, contract, and then invoices. If we talk now about some, I will say, Odoo screenshot to understand how it works directly in the ERP, because that's what we want to see. Let's talk about some free features. Let's start with services. So what is the services? You can see on the right, I create it. I put the name of my services, my credentials, my bank account. So I put all the information, and what's the usage of that? That's the link between my company and eBill. And that's why you're going to have these two buttons on the left that say test connection to be sure that the credentials and every information is at the correct place. And I search invoices because maybe some vendors upload some invoices on my eBill account and I can search it and upload it directly on the vendor bills. So quite great. We also see that we have two small smart buttons that says contract and invoices. This one are cool because from the service, I can see what are the active contract of my customer and what are the invoices that was sent based on that service. For testing purpose, and because we want to do, I will say, the smart way at Camp to Camp, we put some testing mode, we put some advanced feature to help us manage the service if there is some mistake. So that was the first features. Second one, we deep a little bit in the architecture. We go from the service, to the contract. So it's more about the customer and myself, or the company and myself. So what is a customer contract? First, you have a state. So is the contract active or inactive? Start date and date, like we talked before, because it's always an agreement between the company or the customer and yourself. And obviously invoices that will be linked to that service. So we have the second step just there. If you have like 10 customers that needs to receive your invoices based on the eBill protocol, you're obviously going to have one service and 10 contracts. That's the way it's built, and that's the way it works on the eBill protocol. I put, as a small remark, fully compatible with invoice address. Like I said before, at Camp to Camp, we love Odoo, we love the standard way, and we want our module to be fully compatible with the standard features. That's why, as a customer, like I said here, my super customer, I don't put invoice address or these kind of things. I let the Odoo standard way of working, doing his way. I put my company or my customer, and I'm going to generate some invoice, and it will be directly okay with that. I don't have to put like some specific settings to manage eBill contract. Then, if you have contract, the next step is, okay, let's send some invoices. That's the third object that is important. Invoicing management, you have now a send eBill button that is at the top left, at the place we expect to have this button. And if everything is set up correctly on the customer level, I have my service, I have my contract active, you have this button that says send eBill. And directly from the invoice form, so standard way, I can send it to my customer. And you're going to have a chatter feedback that's going to help you to understand if the invoice was successfully sent to the eBill protocol, or maybe if there is a mistake. It's directly live. You're going to have the information on the chat at the bottom. The invoice creation, like I said before, don't change. We are standard, and your workflow isn't changing. For some technicals in the room, I'm sure there is, eBill receive XML files, or informatic file, I will say. We didn't send PDF or this kind of human readable document. We send the XML. And you can see in the module the XML content. You can see also the API feedback from eBill. So if you have, I will say, a technical background and you want to understand what is going on in the back office from the eBill module, you can check it directly on Odoo. So quite nice, because it's help you to don't connect to eBill platform and understand the mistake. We want to have all the information needed for error fixing directly in Odoo. For example, with my customer, at some point, one of the admin members changed the bank account. The bank account was not allowed to send some eBilling invoice directly on their account. So we had a small mistake or a small errors message on the bottom that says bank account not allowed, and it says, okay, I need to change that. So quite cool. Let's go for a live demonstration because I think it's interesting. So, I'm on Odoo 16, I think, on this one. We're going to migrate with the customer in the next weeks, and we're going to deploy the module in 18 when the version will be free to use and migration ready. So if you remember the architecture, we always start with services. So we're going to start with services. I'm going to check some services directly on the search bar. And I see there that I have my first services that we called my eBill services. And I see all the information I showed you before, like the test connection that says, okay, test connection to service is a success. So I know that my credentials are okay. I can search some invoices if I want to get them, download them, and upload them directly in Odoo. By the way, about that, it's done on a daily basis, this download information, so you don't have to go there and click on it every day, obviously. I can see that I have a bank account that is linked. That's interesting because I'm going to create my bank account and says, okay, I'm going to receive and emit some payment linked to that bank account, and it's obviously going to be the bank account used on the invoice. Credentials, classical things. Then if I go deep, I'm going to have the contract. So here we can see that I have 4 contracts, so 4 customers that I'm work with. So it's medical stuff at that point. If I click on the first one, I can see that I have a famous hospital in Switzerland that I'm work with. I have my the state of my contract is open, that means it's active. I can also put it in draft or cancel if it's no more active, by the way. And start date and no end date. If the end date is put, there is a daily check that's going to cancel the contract directly. If the contract is cancelled, obviously you will have no more the send eBill button on the invoices. That's the easiest way to manage that. I can see something, another thing interesting is that I have a contract ID that my customer going to provide me, and the payment method that is QR, that's the newest protocol for payment emission in Switzerland. It's cool. So services, contracts, and then I'm going to have some invoices linked to that contract. But first, let's take a look at the customer form because there is some secret things inside. If I go to my customer form, I'm going to see like classical things. On the sales and purchase tab, I'm going to have my customer invoice transmission method. That's fun because in Odoo 18, Fabien show us that you're going to have this new, we'll say, payment method directly on the contact form. And we also find the same solution. That's a good place to store this information. So customer invoice transmission method, I put post-finance. Why post-finance? Because post-finance is responsible of the eBill protocol. That's why we put that there. That means also that for customers that don't have any contract, I will just put that as false or email or post if I want to follow that. And that means that the send eBill button will only be available for customers that have an active contract and the correct transmission method set there. If I go now to one invoices, for example, so I'm going to use my smart button or these things just there, and we're going to take this one. I'm going to put like this, so we can have a good view, like this one. So I have my contact, my invoice form classical way. I send once the eBill. If I go a little bit at the bottom, I will see that my invoice is successfully sent to PostFinance. If I add some problem, you're going to have in the chatter directly the problem and a small activity that will remind you that there will be a problem with that there were a problem with that invoice sent. So you have to check something. It's better. You have to think that at some point, this customer, I'm going to select like 100 invoices for 1 month and says action, send eBill. So I will not go to each invoices, send, and send. We allow mass sending with eBill. If I go now at the top, I send once the eBill to my customer. That's why the button changed a bit, and we have resend eBill, and you're going to have a small warning message that say, oh, are you sure that you want to send? You already send these things. If I go now to if I go back to my invoices and my eBill services and invoices just there, I have the list of all the invoices that was sent you with the help of this service. That means that at some point I can check that on the customer invoices and accounting app of Odoo. And if I want to check more technical things, I can go also, maybe as an admin, to the service and says, okay, maybe this one, do we have a problem maybe with this one? And I can see that I can have the transaction number from the eBill protocol, the date of submission, if there is some error, like an error code and server state, for example, and it will help you manage the send. And like I said before, for the techies in the side, you also have the payload, aka the XML file that was sent to the eBill protocol. That's always a good thing to have that directly in Odoo, and the state that is sent right now. And that's it for the configuration. So module installation, service creation, then you create all the contracts you have with your customer, and then your eBill ready with the help of Come2Camp and our module. If I go back to my slideshow, I think it's time for question if you have. I'm going to check if we had some question at the same time.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for this great presentation.
Thank you.
So we are going through the pad, and already we have some questions. So the first one, which Swiss bank can currently be connected to Odoo for payment and collection?
Mm-hmm. So that's not the module that supports the bank, that's the eBill protocol. Actually, like I said on the first or second slide, 95% of financial institutions are eBill ready. From my experience, classical banks are fully compatible, like UBS, Credit Suisse, Raiffeisen. You don't have a lot of neobank like Neon or older neobank, but if you have, I would say, classical bank, it's almost okay directly out of the box.
Okay, great. The second question, is this module available through the OCA?
No, not at the moment. If you want to use this module, you have to contact us at Come2Camp and we can discuss together how we can implement that to your ERP and to Odoo.
Okay, great. How do things look like on the recipient side?
Do they send the eBill in their eBill account or can say it in their ERP? Oh, interesting question. So, you can, when you send the eBill, you send the XML version of the file, so I would say non-human readable, and it will be like translated on their eBill eBill platform for the customer side. So they're going to see the line, they're going to see the price, and it will be human readable. If they want to have like the PDF version, you can also send it by email with the standard features of Odoo.
Okay, great. We are still waiting for some question. I think the presentation was pretty clear.
Thank you.
I guess no one is writing something, so I guess
it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Great.
Well done.
Thank you very much.